welcome to another edition of Trial by Magus. This is the second part of the Wunderbar Twins series featuring Tier 4 German aircraft. This is the Messerschmitt Bf.110B model Tier 4 heavy fighter. This is the standard fighter from the heavy fighter line at Tier 4. There is a premium version of this aircraft, the Bf.110C6, which changes out her cannons for a single 30mm gun slung underneath the belly. This is the standard Techline aircraft and definitely far superior to the premium offering at this time. Now let's go ahead and take a look at her here. She's pretty good looking. She's got this big greenhouse canopy on the top of the aircraft here that points out that the aircraft was designed in the mid-30s, because that is a pretty big danger to crew right there. None of that is armored except for the glass plates on the front of the aircraft, so it's pretty easy to take out the crew historically by shooting at the 110 from on top or the side. Now, equipment-wise, the 110B has very powerful engines and very powerful armament. Let's take a look at those. Now, the front of the plane is just bristling with guns. You see a ring of 4 up here and 2 on the bottom there. The 2 on the bottom are 20mm cannons, and the 4 on the top are 7.92mm MG17s. Those are pretty powerful, and it's all packed right there into the nose, so it's a pretty accurate stream of fire. The 110B also has the option of carrying a pair of SC-250 fragmentation bombs. I don't recommend that you use those. There's no reason to carry them into a fight anymore with this thing. If you mount bombs on her, it cripples your ability to climb as high as an unladen 110B would, and therefore penalizes you in the early air battle. And plus, those 2 bombs are only big enough to knock out 2 medium-sized targets or 1 big hardened target like a ship. So leave the acquisition of ground target points to the attack aircraft. That's what they're there on your team to do. If you're doing it, you're depriving your team of a great high-altitude asset that can easily carry the team out of a sticky situation. You can't do that if you start off the game flying at low altitude. Light fighters love seeing a 110 flying at low altitude taking out ground targets, and they will jump all over you and make sure that you can't climb up and change the outcome of the battle at a later time. The engines on this thing, you got a pair of Daimler-Benz DB601Ns when you're fully upgraded. You start off with a pair of Jumos, which are completely different in configuration. I've already sold them, or I'd equipped them to show you what it looks like, but you end up with a great big air scoop underneath the front here. Actually looks like you've got the front end of a Stuka on your wing there. For additional equipment, I recommend engine tuning, like I do for any kind of energy fighter, which German heavy fighters definitely are. Improved covering too, because as I've mentioned before, with the current meta of the game, with how cannons work, you don't want to take a lucky critical hit, or in your case an unlucky critical hit, to your wing, tail, or fuselage, because all of that affects your turning ability and your speed. Your turning ability is already pretty crap in this thing, so you want to hold on to every last bit of that you can, and speed is life, so you don't want to lose any of that either. Reinforced airframe. I've elected for that here because my 110B gets into collisions quite often, so an additional HP boost was a good thing, plus it protects my crew and my engines from receiving critical damage from the aforementioned critical cannon hits. So that's all the equipment there. Other options you could go for would be possibly an improved reflector sight to tighten up the firing pattern of your nose-mounted guns even more. I would only recommend going with that if you're also going with the accuracy pilot skill abilities, which basically turns your gunfire on the 110B into a laser pointer. That really only does you any good if you're a good shot. If you're a terrible shot, that tightening of your gun's firing spread actually will work against you, because if you can't land a hit, at least with the gun spraying all over the place, you'll get a hit every now and then. But if you tighten that up and you're a crap shot, well, you're out of luck. You're not going to get any lucky hits either. Now, the 110B does have a tail gunner on her, but I've saved mention of this to the end because it's not that impressive. Take a look at that. Single barrel, and it's small caliber, 7.92 millimeter. You are not going to do a lot of damage with that tail gun. So, if you have a highly skilled Bf.110B gunner, I highly recommend that you go for the control abilities, like, what do we got here? Defensive fire. This reduces damage that you will take from an aircraft that your gunner is currently firing at. That's a great ability for the 110B, because your tail gunner is doing no damage, but at least with this ability he's throwing an enormous debuff of 30% less damage on the guy shooting at you. Other things that might be useful would be precision gunner, which, regardless of the caliber of your tail gunner, will increase the possibility of critical hits, taking out engines, damaging pilots, things like that. So those are the two abilities I would recommend on the 110B's gunner. Now, tactics-wise, the 110B is a complete energy fighter. You climb as high as you can at the beginning of a battle, and then you stay up there until all enemies at the top of the layer cake have been defeated. And you work your way down from the top. The predators that you're going to have to watch out for when flying a 110B, when solo or in a flight, are other 110Bs, Bf.109B light fighters, and higher tier fighters like the American P-38 series. Those aircraft are just designed to wreck the Bf.110 because they're faster than you, their guns are all mounted in the nose like you, so they got that heavy concentrated fire, and they can turn better than you, and they can outdive you as well. So if you run into a P-38 with a 110B, you're going to rely on either taking him out with a head-on ram after you put some shells into him, because I'd accept ramming a P-38 before letting him get around and get on my tail, or you're going to depend on your wingman or your team to take care of that bogey for you. Good aircraft to flight up with the 110B would be the Bf.109B, as demonstrated in Wunderbar Twins Part 1, another 110B, or future high-altitude energy fighters that have not been released yet. Things that would be unacceptable to pair up with the 110B would be things like an I-16 late, the I-17. Less desirable, a P-36 could be made to work with the 110, but it's not as desirable as a 109. And that is pretty much everything that I can think of right here. I have a battle for you in the Bf.110B. I am flying one, and my wingman is my younger brother, Albert Ernst. We put on a pretty good show here. The 110 I actually took down and fought on the deck with her a little bit because it was necessary. I hope you enjoy the show. Good hunting.